It's thanks to her oil that Kuwait's 800,000 inhabitants enjoy, at $4,500 a year, the highest per capita income in the world. Her oil wealth has enabled her to give citizenship to more than 70,000 Bedouin nomads and house many of them in modern air-conditioned settlements like these. There have been problems. Many of the Bedouins have no technical skills to offer, but the administration has at least improved their health and living standards. If more proof of wealth were needed, look at the fresh water system, producing 190 million cubic meters of salt-free water every day in a country where summer temperatures often reach 120 Fahrenheit. This desalination program alone will eventually cost $330 million. When oil was first produced in 1946, Kuwait's attitude was one of laissez-faire. The emirate was happy enough to accept the prices the Western companies were offering without trying its own hand at exploitation. Today it takes a very different view. A package deal which recently came before the National Assembly will give Kuwait a 25% stake in the operations of British Petroleum and Gulf Oil, its major concessionaires, rising to a majority holding of 51% by 1982. At present, oil represents about 60% of Kuwait's national revenue and meets 90% of the state's budget. They could produce up to 5 million barrels a day from these fields, but the government restricts output to keep the price up and also so that it can keep a tighter rein on national expenditure. The modern financial center, which has grown up to service the complex monetary needs of the oil industry, backs up Kuwait's claim to be regarded as the Switzerland of the Middle East. Yet the older commercial traditions still live on, even though in a few years' time, market stalls like these will be seen only on picture postcards. The old markets are being torn down, all the stalls brought under one roof, their owners being banded into cooperatives. Strangely, of Kuwait's 800,000 inhabitants, rather less than half have full Kuwait nationality, including the right to vote. The rest are made up of expatriate Arabs, attracted from other areas of the Middle East by Kuwait's high wages. Indigenous Kuwaitis, those who once lived within the walls of the old Kuwait city, are often criticized for the high-handed attitude they adopt to their immigrants. But at least in the field of education, there's a refreshing lack of any discrimination. Without regard to background or class, the state provides everything free for the young of the country: books, uniforms, school buses, even meals for the very young. Kuwait is aiming for a population growth of 6.5% a year, and further intends to develop this new resource by continued improvements to the education system. Yet, major exporter of petrol though Kuwait is, it's nevertheless dependent on other countries for its vital imports. From cars to computers, medicines to machinery, it represents an important enough market for many of the world's major consumer industries to be well represented here. Among the leading importers is the United Kingdom, a country closely linked to Kuwait in terms of trade and linked in other ways. The British trained Kuwait's tiny defense force. Today it faces guerrillas backed by the Soviet Union and South Yemen. The Popular Front for Liberation of Oman and the Arab Gulf ignores Kuwait's support of Arab economic development. The guerrillas want no part of progress. The style is straight from the pages of a British Army manual, but both the style and size of Kuwait's tiny army may have to change if she is to defend herself from threats from within and without. Even the weapons are those of the British Army. No coincidence this. When Iraq threatened Kuwait's sovereignty, 6,000 British troops were flown out to the Gulf within 24 hours. For the Kuwaiti National Assembly, the periodic threats of takeover by Iraq are disruptive. But there are other problems too. A government proposal to increase the price of domestic oil. Opposition deputies argue that in the context of other price rises, it's too much for the Kuwaiti man in the street to take. Yet while the debate rages, the decision has been made. Here at the Emir's palace. At his daily audience, Sheikh Subah al-Salam al-Subah receives the most influential men of the emirate. Told of the debate in Parliament, the Emir says he has taken note of Parliament's mood, but the price will go up, at least for the time being. Parliament notwithstanding, the Emir's mind is made up. But the larger problems remain. Threats from the guerrillas and Iraq must be faced. Meanwhile, from her oil revenue, she continues development aid to Tunisia, Morocco and other states, thus encouraging stability in the region. Kuwait manages to retain the calmness which has characterized its external relations, keeping its role as an oasis of sanity and progress. And that surely can be no small achievement in an otherwise disturbed area.